let's start. So if you can, let's take a big breath together. And we'll just take a few big, full, deep breaths, really feeling the breath as it comes into our body, consciously and intentionally, letting the breath fill our lungs, letting our shoulders rise, letting your hands relax, and just noticing any sensations or feelings that you might have, being aware of the breath, even the depth of the breath or the shortness of the breath. And just making these observations now in these first few moments as we become more comfortable, as we settle into our seats and our bodies, but also just settling into this meditation. So coming into the breath and just being aware of it in a moment or time like this can also feel a little overwhelming, because we might notice that we're holding our breath or we're short with our breath, and that's okay. We're trying to avoid judgment here. And instead of judgment, we're just trying to create some space for understanding and space for observing. And as you begin to move a little deeper into that space, you can also start to deepen your breath a little bit. I'd encourage you to not just extend or lengthen the inhale, but really focus on the exhale. And over the next 3 or 4 or 5 breaths, see if you can put your attention into your exhale in particular. Watching the exhale go, noticing the full length of the exhale till you feel your lungs and your body are completely empty of the breath. And then almost effortlessly and like an observer, you'll notice as the inhale returns to you. That can be a really calming sensation, to let something go, but to also feel it return. And as we focus on that exhale, it's only natural that you also might find your inhale getting a little longer as well, maybe a little slower. And that's okay too. And between those two breaths, I'm just trying to find some balance, becoming aware now of both the in-breath and the out-breath, becoming aware of the breath as it moves through our body, not just in our lungs now, but feeling the breath in our shoulders and our arms, but also feeling the breath as it moves into our minds and our heads. Sometimes as the breath begins to calm, it's like the surface of the water stills and you can see into the water. And you can picture yourself peering into your mind now, just noticing all the things floating in that space. All of the thoughts you've had maybe over the last few days, all the thoughts you have about the next few days or weeks. And what I would encourage you to do is just going with that image of the water, trying not to stir up those thoughts, but just notice them, breathe into them, and let them begin to find a little stillness. Almost picture them dropping down into the bottom of the water. And with a few deep breaths, imagining your mind just beginning to clear, beginning to see what's beneath that surface, what's beneath all the dust, the debris, all the thoughts, the distortion and the distraction. And just for a moment, come into your own mind, into your own self. And as you deepen that space and you deepen your insight into your mind, I'd encourage you to follow your breath with it down into your heart space as well. And if the mind is sort of all of that cloudy water, you can imagine those things at the bottom of the surface, those beautiful rocks, smooth and glowing, that's your heart space. So take a deep breath and let's drop into that space, just becoming aware of the emotions that we might be holding within our heart at this moment. And if you want to imagine your heart is full of different emotions, you can picture them like stones or you can picture them like light. It's totally up to you, but often choosing a color for each of the emotions you might be feeling at this moment can help you really identify it, but also separate yourself for a moment from the emotion. And going one or two, trying to find one or two really dominant emotions that you feel like you've had over the course of this day. I want you to take a moment and breathe into those emotions. Almost feel like you're holding them, feeling the weight of them in your hands. And then when you're ready, you can release them. You can let them go as well. And just as your thoughts begin to clear, you can start to create some space within your heart, some space for new emotions, maybe some space for new light, new breath. And what I'd encourage you to do is drop even deeper beneath that surface. And I want you to feel in your body at this moment where you might be holding some of those emotions. Find those spaces or those places that feel like the weight that you held in your hand. Maybe that's in your heart. Maybe that's also in your stomach or your back or your shoulders. And when you find those spaces, send your next breath into them. And imagine your breath is just like a very powerful healing liquid. Imagining it going into those spaces, releasing them and opening them. And you can almost imagine yourself letting go of whatever weight, whatever stickiness resides there. And maybe it won't go away completely, and that's okay, but then breathe around it. Really breathe around it and imagine yourself almost standing on the edge of a river, watching all that water moving down through that river, around the rocks, around the roots, around all the things that might find themselves in the river. And for a moment, going with that image, just picture yourself standing there at the edge. And this river can represent so many things right now, so much change, both within our own lives, within our families, our communities, but even within the world. And for a moment, just imagine you can watch that river, you can see it coming from a source, but also imagine you can see it going out to something new, something that's new and possible and hopeful. And for a moment, just breathe that feeling of movement into your whole body. Feel that river almost flowing through you. And all those places that are blocked or stuck, you can just imagine this river flowing right through the crown of your head, right out the bottom of your feet with your breath. And just surrender for a moment into that feeling, into that flow. Trying to let go of the need to control or to know or to change. Just be present in this incredible flow of energy that's moving through you, that's moving through our world, that's bringing in all this change. And as you do that, Take another breath, and still with your eyes closed, just let that river begin to still. Feel your breath now again within your heart and your lungs. Maybe check in again with your mind, noticing what were the thoughts that seem to still surface and be present. Maybe you'll come back to them at another time later today. But also check in with your body for a moment. How does it feel at the end of this meditation? How does your breath feel? How do you feel? And then just trying to hold that feeling of openness, of possibility, beyond just this meditation, but into the days and the weeks ahead. So when you're ready, but only when you're ready, you can now take another breath. You can wiggle your toes and your fingers. You can gently open your eyes.